I was told I don't express empathy. Now I'm questioning everything. Serious, throwaway because I'm lost and maybe a bit broken. Here's my story, the one that's been haunting me for days now. Back when I was a shy, awkward first grader, I met this girl. She had this radiant energy, so full of life, the kind of kid who made even the grumpiest teacher crack a smile. I was that quiet kid in the background, always struggling to find my place, but somehow, she didn't care about my awkwardness. She saw something in me I didn't even see in myself. I remember that feeling of relief when she chose to sit next to me in class. From that moment on, it was like we had our own little universe. Our friendship felt like it had always been there, just waiting for us to find it. She made me feel seen, like I finally had someone who understood me. By the end of the year, we were inseparable. We called each other best friends, even soulmates. I know, it's a big word for two kids, but that's how it felt. She was my rock in a world that often felt confusing and lonely. And then life threw us our first major curveball. Out of nowhere, her family had to move to another country. I remember the day she told me, the look on her face. She tried to be brave, to make it sound like an adventure, but I could see the sadness behind her eyes. It felt like my whole world was crashing down. I couldn't imagine school without her, couldn't picture life without our daily talks and laughter. We promised we'd keep in touch, that nothing would change, but deep down, I think we both knew it wouldn't be the same. Long-distance friendships are hard, especially when you're just a kid. We tried, though. We called each other whenever we could, sharing little updates, but it felt forced, like we were strangers trying to remember what made us so close. It was like I was clinging to a shadow, holding on to a memory that was slowly slipping away. Then, as if fate was playing some kind of twisted game with us, my family ended up moving to the same country the very next year. When I found out, I was over the moon. I pictured this epic reunion where we'd run to each other and everything would go back to how it was. In my mind, it was like a scene from a movie. We'd laugh, share secrets, pick up right where we left off. But real life doesn't work like that. We ended up in Los Angeles, a city that felt enormous, overwhelming. It was nothing like the small town we'd come from. Everyone here seemed to know how to fit in, how to be cool, how to act like they belonged. I was lost, feeling like a tiny fish in an ocean. Meanwhile, she was thriving. We even ended up in the same school, the same class, and for a brief moment, I thought, this is it. We're finally back together. But things weren't the same. She had changed, or maybe I had. She blended in so effortlessly, while I felt like I was watching from the sidelines, a stranger in her new life. She became part of this tight-knit group, an LA trio with two other girls who seemed to know all the inside jokes, all the unspoken rules. They had this chemistry, this easy rhythm that made me feel like an outsider. I tried to keep up, tried to find my place, but it was like there was this invisible wall. I watched her laugh and talk with them, and it was like watching my best friend turn into someone I didn't know. And yeah, I was jealous. I was jealous of how easily she fit into this new world, jealous that she was making memories without me, that she was living this life that didn't include me. I kept telling myself that I was just overthinking, that it was normal, but deep down, it hurt. It felt like I was slowly losing her all over again, only this time, I was right there to watch it happen. And then, something dark happened in her life, something that left a scar on her soul. I still don't know all the details. She didn't talk about it much, and by then, we were already growing apart. She became more withdrawn, like a shadow of the girl I used to know. Depression took hold of her, pulling her into a place I couldn't reach. I wanted to help, wanted to be there for her, but I didn't know how. I didn't have the words, didn't have the experience to understand what she was going through. And so, I stood on the sidelines, helpless and afraid, watching as our friendship unraveled. By the time we hit 8th grade, we were practically strangers. We didn't fight, there were no big arguments, no explosive drama. We just drifted. Each day, we grew a little farther apart, until what we had was just a distant memory, a whisper of something that used to be. I had other friends by then, people who cared about me, but none of them were her. None of them understood me the way she did. None of them could fill the void she left behind. I tried to hold on, tried to bridge the gap, but it felt like trying to hold water in my hands. No matter what I did, it kept slipping away. I felt trapped, paralyzed by my own helplessness. I didn't know how to reach her, didn't know how to make her see that I still cared. And so, I did nothing, just watched as she drifted farther and farther away. Yesterday, after months of torturing myself with what-ifs, I finally decided to reach out. I couldn't take the silence any longer, couldn't bear the thought that maybe I was the reason we drifted apart. Face to face was too terrifying, so I did what any anxious, overthinking person would do. I sent her a text. I poured my heart out, admitting how much I missed her, how worried I was, and asking if I had done something to push her away. I was desperate for answers, clinging to the hope that maybe this conversation would fix things. I spent hours staring at my phone, barely breathing, waiting for her reply. When it finally came, her words shattered me. She told me, "I feel like you don't express empathy. It's hard for me, especially with my depression." I just stared at the message, feeling like I'd been punched in the gut. I don't express empathy. Me? The one who'd been silently agonizing over our fading friendship for years? The one who had spent endless nights wondering if I'd done something wrong, if there was any way to bring us back to what we used to be? Her words felt like a slap in the face, a cruel twist of fate that left me questioning everything I thought I knew about myself. All this time, I believed I was showing her how much I cared. I thought I was being a good friend. But here she was, telling me that I'd failed in the one thing that mattered most. I felt like an imposter, a stranger in my own skin, doubting every gesture, every word, every interaction. In that moment, I knew I'd lost her. Whatever we had was gone, a memory of a memory, and I was the only one who hadn't moved on. I thought that message would be a turning point, that maybe it would bring us closer. Instead, it was the final nail in the coffin of our friendship. I realized that our bond wasn't just damaged, it was dead, and I was the last one at the funeral, mourning something that no longer existed. So now I'm here, in Los Angeles, a city that feels emptier than ever, surrounded by people but feeling utterly alone. I see her in the halls, laughing with her new friends, living a life that I can't be a part of. And it tears me up inside. I hate myself for feeling jealous, for resenting her happiness when all I've ever wanted was to see her smile. I hate that I can't be the friend she needs, that I wasn't there for her when she needed me most. But mostly, I hate that I'm still clinging to something that's long gone, like I'm trying to revive a ghost. It's like I'm mourning a part of myself that I'll never get back, a version of me that existed only in her presence. I don't know how to move on from this. How do you let go of someone who once meant everything? How do you accept that your best friend, the person who once felt like your other half, doesn't need you anymore? Every time I think about it, I feel this aching, gnawing emptiness that I can't escape. It's like a weight pressing down on my chest, a constant reminder of everything I've lost. I don't know what I'm even asking for here. Advice, maybe? Or just someone to tell me I'm not crazy for feeling like this. It's been days, but I can't stop replaying her words in my head. It's like a broken record, a relentless echo that reminds me I wasn't enough, that I failed her in ways I didn't even understand. And now I'm left wondering, did I really fail, or was I just never what she needed? I've been replaying that conversation in my head, dissecting every word, every phrase, trying to understand where I went wrong. It feels like there's this fog around my memories of us, clouding everything we once had. I keep asking myself, was I really that cold? Was I truly incapable of being there for her? I thought I was the friend who would drop anything to help, who would sit and listen, who understood. But maybe I didn't. Maybe I missed something, some unspoken need, some silent cry for help. And now, the more I think about it, the more questions fill my mind. Was there a moment when I should have noticed her pain and didn't? Did she give me signs, tiny hints, that I brushed aside? I keep replaying every memory, like I'm searching for a clue in an unsolved mystery, trying to piece together where everything went so terribly wrong. I feel like I'm stuck in this endless loop of regret, analyzing every interaction, every laugh, every moment of silence between us. Some nights, I lay awake, scrolling through old messages, looking at photos, torturing myself with memories of how close we once were. There are pictures of us at birthday parties, school events, just goofy selfies that we took when everything was simple and carefree. Back then, I thought those moments would last forever. Now, those photos feel like snapshots from another lifetime. I can barely recognize the two girls smiling back, as if they were different people, untouched by the complexity of everything that was to come. I wonder if she looks back at those memories, too, or if she's moved on completely. Does she ever miss me? Does she ever feel the same ache, or has she buried our friendship, forgotten it like an old chapter of her life? Part of me wants to reach out again, to ask her if there's any way to rebuild, but I know it would probably hurt more to hear her say no. So, I stay silent, clinging to these memories like they're all I have left, even though each one feels like a dagger in my chest. I think part of me wants closure, some way to end this chapter in a way that doesn't feel like a raw, open wound. But how do you get closure when the other person has already moved on? How do you say goodbye to someone who's already left? The thing is, I don't even know how to say goodbye. To me, she's still that bright light, that friend who saw me when no one else did. Letting go feels like admitting that part of myself is gone, too. And maybe that's the hardest part, realizing that our friendship was more than just about her, it was about who I was with her. Now, every time I see her, every time I hear her laugh with someone else, it feels like I'm losing a piece of myself. It's like a slow, painful process of letting go, even though I never wanted to. I want to stop feeling this way, to stop analyzing and replaying everything, but I don't know how. It's as if I'm stuck in the shadow of what we used to be, unable to step into the light of what my life could be without her. I don't want to be bitter. I don't want to resent her happiness, but it's so hard to shake off these feelings. I guess I'm mourning the person I was, the friend I thought I'd be, the bond one thought was unbreakable. And maybe, in a way, I'm mourning my own failure, the realization that I wasn't enough for someone I loved so deeply. That's a hard pill to swallow, knowing that despite all my intentions, all my love, I couldn't be the friend she needed. I know I need to move on. I know I need to let go of this guilt, this self-doubt, and find a way to accept that people change, that sometimes, no matter how much you want something, it slips away. But how do you let go of a part of yourself? How do you walk away from something that meant everything? Sometimes, I find myself hoping for a miracle, that one day, she'll turn around and see me, really see me, and remember everything we had. Maybe she'll reach out, and we'll find a way back to each other. But I know that's just a dream, a lingering hope that only keeps me chained to the past. So, here I am, trying to make sense of it all, trying to figure out how to start a new chapter, even if it feels like a part of me will always be stuck on this one. And maybe, just maybe, by sharing this, by putting it out there, I'll find some small piece of closure, some sense of release from this story that's haunted me for so long. I don't know what comes next, but I know I need to find a way to keep going. To forgive myself, to let go of the what-ifs, and to believe that maybe, someday, I'll find peace with this. Maybe one day, I'll look back and smile, grateful for the memories without feeling the weight of loss. But until then, I'll keep searching for the strength to move forward, one small step at a time.